10 levels of live looping. Let's go, level 1. All right, so level 1 is using a simple guitar pedal, okay? And you can use a guitar pedal with many different instruments, but I'm gonna use it with a guitar. And it's a great practice tool. It's easy to create a vamp and jam on top of and create cool ideas. And it's pretty much the most simple thing, so let's demo it. All right, so I have a looper set up on my pedal board here, and I have my guitar plugged in. Sounds like this, okay? And all you can do here, like all you gotta do is hit it once to record a loop, hit it again to start looping whatever you recorded, and you can jam on top, and you can like hit it twice to stop it, hit it again to start, you can overdub, all that fun stuff. So to start, I'm just going to go ahead and hit a reverb to get some vibe, switch over here, and we'll go ahead and record a loop, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so now I can jam on top of this, no problem. So I want to stop it, just double tap. Easy as pie. All right, level 2, we are talking about Ableton Session View. And if you don't know what Ableton is, it's pretty dope. It's a digital audio workstation, so you can make music from beginning to end. It's super advanced, super awesome, all this great stuff. But it also has this thing called Session View. So if you look here, each of these tracks, I have a bass track over here, I have a drum track over here, I got a piano sound over here. I got all these different sounds that I can play. But in each of these tracks, you'll notice there's this little slot underneath them. Okay. And what this allows you to do is record what are called clips into Session View, which act like loops. So what this does is that you can actually loop many ideas on many different tracks very quickly, especially if you have some fancy controllers like this, where you can hit a button to start recording and stop recording a loop instead of having to use the mouse. Okay, so let me go ahead and demo that real quick to you. So let's go ahead to the drum track. Okay, I'm gonna select the kick, and just to start, let's just do 4 on the floor kick. Turn off the click. Super simple. Let's go to our other drum track. Let's say we want to record a loop here. I'll just hit this little slot. Let's go. I can control the volume of them independently. Let's say we go to the piano and we want to add something. Right, let's wait till it loops around. All right, let's go. Right? So super easy as that. And the beautiful thing about this is that you can actually manipulate these loops after the fact, right? Like I could start it again. I could drop the volume of my drums. I could stop the keyboard. I could just stop one of my drums and play with them and try different combinations in real time as you're jamming. Next level. All right, level 3 is that some loopers give you the ability to manipulate what you recorded in the loop after the fact. There's some hardware units that allow you to do this, such as double the speed, half the speed, reverse it, etc. So not only can you record loops, but you can manipulate them after the fact in real time and create these crazy performances and maybe even discover a cool idea or two. So let's check it out. So I'm gonna go back in Ableton here, and I have this audio track that I have Ableton's built-in looper that gives you access to those features. Like we can increase the speed up an octave, down an octave, and we can reverse it, all this kind of stuff. And we can go ahead and just record loops directly into Ableton, similar to the guitar pedal, but with a little bit more control. So what I'm gonna do is record a couple layers. So just as quickly as that, you can start adding layers, overdubbing, and getting a cool pattern. All right, so the fun part about this is now that we have this loop recorded with several layers, we can manipulate it after the fact in real time and really play with it, right? So if I go to my overhead, I have the controls of the looper automatically mapped here. So let's go ahead and play around with it. So let's go ahead, press play. Let's reverse it. Let's go back. Let's turn up the speed. So much fun to be had. Let's go to the next level. All right, level 4, we're talking about using an infinite delay to create a loop of delays and then taking that loop and printing it to an official loop. It's craziness. Let me break it down. All right. Level 4, let's talk about it. So what is even going on here? So I have my guitar going through Ableton. Sounds cool, right? So what we're going to do is I have a pedal down here mapped out to control a delay and its feedback time, okay? And a delay with feedback is essentially how much of that delay is getting pushed back into itself to continue having that delay, right? So if I turn it on just a bit, we get a delay, but it fades out after a little bit, right? But if I put this all the way to the max, almost 100%, which would be effectively creating a loop, but 95% where it's gonna stick around for a long time. Right? So it hangs around for a long time. I can stop it. So what this allows you to do is create loops on the fly, just leveraging this delay. And then what we're going to do is I have a track here that's actually a resample track, this guy, where I can record whatever's happening in this delay to a clip, right? So that we print down whatever we created. Okay. So what I got going on is that when I press play here, I have a clock. And then my delay is synced to this clock in an eighth note, dotted eighth note, right? Right, so we got a cool rhythm doing that. So I'm just gonna play around and come up with a cool loop by leveraging some different notes and maybe some swells. And then I'm gonna go ahead and record that in here. I'll turn off the delay, turn off the click. And now we have this trippy looped delay layer that we've printed into its own clip over here. So I could stop it if I want, right? Or I can turn it back on. Live looping, level 5. We're talking about multi-string loop recording. What does this mean? Is that with one single button press, whatever it may be, we record loop 1 and then it stops loop 1. Then we record loop 2, it stops loop 2, and we can even go record loop 3 and it stops loop 3 all in a row automatically. Let's go. All right, so most of the time when you're live looping, in every example that we've showed so far, you need to be able to start and stop the loop in time to make sure that you're capturing what you want, unless you're using a feature like fixed length control. So for example, if I go over here, push 3 has a fixed length button that if I press and hold it, I can tell Ableton, well, how long do I want to record a loop for? Okay, so maybe we go fixed length on, and I only want to record for 2 bars, right? So now when I'm recording a clip, it's going to automatically stop recording after 2 bars. Okay, so let me go ahead and demo that. I have this piano sound, and I'm going to press and hold it again. Let's go to 4 bars. Okay, just give ourselves a little bit more room. All right, so now with fixed length set to 4 bars, okay, notice how when I start recording a clip, it will stop recording automatically after 4 bars time. So I don't have to manually stop it, okay, once I start recording. So let me go ahead and demo that to you real quick. I'm just going to start the clock with the click. And then once I hit record, notice how it stops recording itself. Very handy. Now, if you don't have push controller or you don't have a device that leverages this, we can do this to the next level. All right, so I have a pedal at my feet that once I hit it, it will record 3 loops of 2 bars each, all in a row, multi-string loop recording. Let me go ahead and show you that with these random objects. We'll build a beat, turn on the microphone, and let's go. Et voila. And by the way, this entire setup that I have with Ableton and easy access to different instruments and effects, as well as the live looper, is actually just stage 1 of the entire system that I personally use, as well as what I teach. So if you're interested in learning more about the entire system and grabbing your own Notion template that walks you through every single step so that you can make it work for what you do, you can download it with the link in the description below. Level 6 is using live sampling and then playing that sample as an instrument live as you're creating a loop. Let's break it down. All right, this one is wild because what you will be playing to record a loop will be what you have live sampled in the heat of the moment. So let me show you that. Let's go to the overhead, and I'm using the device called Catch by Novel Music. Huge shout out to Ian. Link in the description below if you want to grab this device. It really fills in a gap that Ableton is missing in my opinion, but what this allows you to do is record something in real time and then immediately be able to play it as an instrument. Okay, so let me go ahead and demo that to you. So for this device, I have as an input set this microphone. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the arm button on and I'm going to record myself just humming a note, and then I'll be immediately able to play it back in real time. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And just as simple as that, I can now record a loop of this sound that I've recorded. So let's go ahead and do that. Level 7, we are going to be using the sustain of an instrument, and then we're going to be freezing that sustain. Then we're going to use something like a beat repeat or a looper slice arranger to be chopping it up and repeating it in crazy patterns, adding new tracks underneath. All right, so the first step with this one is I'm going to go to my overhead, and I have a piano sound loaded on track 8. And if I play the piano sound just by itself, cool enough, right? But if I hold the sustain pedal, it hangs around until I let go of the sustain pedal. Now, this is something I kind of stumbled upon by accident, but check this out. If I hold a chord, hold the sustain pedal, and then switch tracks, the sustain gets locked in to place, okay? So that's the first step of what we're going to be doing in this method. Next, we're going to go to Ableton, and on my master track, I have all these different slice devices, right? Which will take what is being played audio-wise on the master and slice it up into different patterns and stuff that you can manipulate in real time. So I've mapped these 8 controls on my APC 40 to control Tornado. So as I move this knob, you'll notice that those different effects turn on, okay? So here's the magic of this method. If I'm on this piano, I play a chord and I hold my sustain pedal, and then I switch tracks and let go of the sustain, notice how the sustain stays there, right? It's kind of frozen in time, and that's pretty cool. We could resample that, but let's go a layer deeper where I'm going to now manipulate these slice arrangers and create these cool patterns. Right? So you can play with this in real time. And what I'm going to do on top of that is I'm going to go to my bass and I'll add in a bass note here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. right? I could do the same thing with another bass sound. Let's go with a fifth. Right? And this is a very easy way to create a bunch of patterns. And then you guessed it, we can go ahead and record that into a loop. So now if I stop the sustain, right, we have this in its own loop. Next level. Level 8 is going to start to get even crazier, man. Know what I'm saying? All right, so for this one, we're using stackable guitar loops, or looping anything, but stackable loops that we can then manipulate each layer of those loops after the fact. We can mute them, we can solo them, we can change the volume, we can add effects, all this stuff while still recording new loops. Let me show you what I mean. All right, level 8, let's talk about it. So what we got going on here is that I've set up this crazy looper to work with Ableton. If you want to see how I've set it up, I've made a whole other video covering it in detail. I'll link it in the card above. So what this allows me to do is to stack layers in overdub, just like any other looper, but all in their own individual tracks inside of Ableton, meaning that each layer that we add in after the fact in a new layer on a new overdub means that we can manipulate it after the fact with the controls in Ableton. So you'll see that in Ableton right over here, right? That I've got this little yellow square highlighting some clips. All that means is that my APC 40 is representing that yellow rectangle, okay? So all the clips on those tracks will show up on these tracks, right? So as I record, you'll notice that each layer that I add is going to get stacked on top of each other in a new track. But then what we can do is we can change the panning, we can change the volume, we can mute layers, we can solo layers, we can start layers, we can stop layers, we can add effects. And this is not only with guitar, this could be with your microphone, with any freaking layer that you want, right? So it gets crazy in terms of the potential of what you could do. If you have multiple inputs, multiple different instruments, you can really go crazy with this thing. Sky is the limit. So let me show you a quick demo. All right, so what I'm going to do is simply just record a bunch of layers on top of each other with this looper. I'll start with guitar. Maybe I'll throw in a few other layers, different instruments, and then we'll go from there. Now I have all these guitar layers that I can manipulate in real time. Let's solo this guy. Let's stop these clips, bring it back in. Let's turn down the volume of these two. Let's start them up, bring them in. Let's pan them. And then you can play on top of this. Before we go to the next layer, something I would just want to highlight is that you can have all sorts of different layers that you can control independently of each other. Okay, and this doesn't only have to be guitar. You could have vocal as an input, a microphone, bass guitar, piano, saxophone, or you could have multiple loopers like this with different inputs. Okay, so whatever layers you want, but the power is that after the fact, you can manipulate each layer individually. Okay, so for example, if I just solo this layer, press play, right? I can pan this layer left, let's say, go right, and that's just this layer. Go to the sends, add some reverb, right? And then maybe you start bringing in other layers. Maybe we pan this one to the left, bring in this guy. Okay, so sky is the limit with this stuff. Next level. Live looping, level 9. These are getting crazier because I got to keep one-upping the previous live looping thing. So in this one, we are doing loopception, where essentially I'm going to record myself playing a sweep pick, which will probably take like 1,000 takes, okay? Then I'm going to take that and we're going to load it into a simpler device and we're going to go from there and I'm going to show you loopception. This is gonna get crazy, but stick with me. Okay, so I found a little section where it doesn't sound too bad of the sweep picking. Sounds like this. So on and so forth, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this sample, I'm gonna throw it in catch, in the catch device, okay? And then we're gonna grab it, throw it over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to record a loop of catch triggering the sample at an insane speed, but at a speed where we can still hear a pitch, okay? Because when you get this fast, you start to lose the harmonic information. We could try that one. That one sounds good. So I'll try both these two, okay? So I'll go ahead and record a clip, okay? Okay, so there's one clip, and I'll record a new one. Okay, so now I have both of those speeds recorded to clips in Ableton. I have speed 1 and speed 2 recorded. Here's speed 1. And here's speed 2. Okay, so I'm going to start with speed 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this, record the output, resample it, and then we're going to manipulate this to become an instrument. Okay, so I've gone ahead and looped it so that it's an even loop. So here's what it sounds like. And then what I'm going to do is resample that into this resample track. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now we have it recorded to a new audio layer. So now I'm going to take this super sped up audio layer and I'm going to take it and I'm going to bring it to a sampler device. So now we're back where we started. I can play this as an instrument, but now we got to make sure that we're in pitch. All right, so here's what we did. We got that recorded sweep pick as a loop, right? Sped it up, recorded it, resampled it to audio, took that resampled audio, threw it in a simpler device, which you can see right here in Ableton. And now I can play it like we could before, right? So if I hold this, it's essentially playing back that sped up sample. We can continue to go up in speed, right? But here's the cool part, is that in a sampler or a simpler, you can adjust the length of this sample. So notice what happens when I start to lower the length of the sample and we start to loop a smaller part of this. I went ahead and I programmed the sweep pick that I originally played on the guitar. So now it sounds like this. So this is Loopception. This instrument is made of a super sped up version of my sweep picks looped so fast together that it makes a pitched instrument that is then playing that same exact part, but we're using the DNA of that first original sweep pick part as the instrument. Everything is vibration, yo. Level 10. Level 10, we made it, and we're going to program the universe. So let me break it down. It's going to get crazy. What I'm using is a custom programming language called CliffX to be able to program Ableton. And when I launch this program, it's going to select track 1. It's going to start recording a loop on that track while I'm able to play it live. Stop that loop, select the next track, record a loop on that one, stop that loop, select the next track, so on and so forth, so that I can create a whole jam from live loops in about 30 seconds. All right, so let's check it out. So we're in Ableton here. I'm using CliffX, which is a custom remote script to be able to tell Ableton directions that aren't accessible directly in the program. Then I came up with this with that programming language, which looks crazy. Let's zoom into it. This is level 10, bro. You know what I'm saying? So we're turning on the metronome. We're stopping everything. We're arming track 1. We're selecting the clip slot. We're going to record something. We're going to stop that. We're going to unarm that one, select the next track, so on and so forth, stacked in a row so that we can actually make a live looping performance. All right, so all we're going to do is we got a drum kit, we got a bass, then we got some piano, and then we got this cool trippy instrument on top. I'm going to launch it, and I'm going to jam all 4 of these in a row. So let me go to this view. Holy crap, level 10. Let's do it. So I'm going to just launch this clip, and everything else is going to be done automatically, and I'll just be playing this OP1 as we start to create this jam. get some bass. Let's jam. Cool beans, that's level 10, bro. All right, so that's it. 10 levels of live looping. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And hey, if you want to learn more about the entire setup that I've been playing with in Ableton with all these instruments, all the effects, all the MIDI mapping, all the live looping in one massive setup, I've actually made a whole other video breaking that down. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely check out this video next, and I'll see you in that video.